LTA Traffic News.
Do take note of a stalled vehicle on KPE towards TPE at Nickel Highway entrance.
From Monday, Lance Alexander and Melanie Olivero drive you home right here on the all-new cna938.
From the big business news of the day.
Donald Trump signing this executive order, a national emergency as he put it.
To small businesses and the issues that matter to them.
We need all the help that we can get.
Learn how to get ahead in your career and business from those who've made it happen.
We've got to move faster and make sure we're relevant for tomorrow.
And for a lighter note at lunchtime, we switch gears from finance to food.
The big trend is 04 cuts.
Join me, Chu Wee Lin.
And me, Stanley Leong on
Money Mind, weekdays 10 to 2 on CNA 938. 938 Now, LTA Traffic News.
There are men at work on Raffles Avenue towards Bayfront Avenue after Raffles Boulevard. Avoid the right lane.
With reporters here at home and across Asia, complete coverage of our region from Monday. This is where you'll find the all-new CNA 938.
Wind up the latest news as you wind down on your evening cruise.
Join us, Melanie Olivero and Lance Alexander, on Singapore Today.
We'll help you catch up on what's happening in Singapore, Asia, and around the world.
You'll get lots of updates, analysis, expert commentary, and we'll throw in a touch of fun too.
Singapore Today, weekdays 5 to 9 on CNA 938. News from CNA.
The Shangri-La dialogue wraps up with China saying it will not yield an inch of territory to anyone. Speaking in Singapore, Defence Minister Wei Fenghe warned that Beijing would not yield a single inch of its land, but he also made clear that it would not seize any land from others as well. He also rejects claims that Beijing is militarizing the waters by deploying facilities.
The problem, however, is that in recent years, some countries outside the region come to the South China Sea to flex muscles in the name of freedom of navigation. The large-scale force projection and offensive operations in the region are the most serious, destabilizing and uncertain factors in the South China Sea. It is the legitimate rights of a sovereign state to carry out construction on its own territory. China built limited defense facilities on the islands and reefs for self-defense. It is only when there are threats will there be defenses. In face of heavily armed warships and military aircraft, how can we not deploy any defense facilities?
On Taiwan, the minister directly referenced yesterday's speech by the acting U.S. Defense Secretary. He says safeguarding the unity of China's territories is a duty of the People's Liberation Army. Here's what he said via his interpreter.
Any foreign interference in the Taiwan question is doomed to failure. I've taken note of the U.S. speech yesterday, which mentioned Taiwan. I want to ask, is the Taiwan Relations Act a law of Taiwan or law of the U.S.? Is it law of China or an international law? Is it an act of the United Nations? How can U.S. enact a law to interfere in China's internal affairs? Is there any sense in that?
Meanwhile, Singapore's Defence Minister Ng Eng Hen has urged the US and China to show other countries that their policies do not go against the collective good. Not doing so, he says, will risk their influence being diminished. His comments come at the end of the Shangri-La dialogue in Singapore, where defence chiefs gathered over the weekend to discuss security issues. The news desk with this report.
The region's trajectory is being altered as the US and China continue their spat. And Defence Minister Ng Eng Hen warned at the Shangri-La Dialogue's concluding plenary session that this has potential for great harm. He outlined how US-China ties had gotten to where they are now. Washington putting America first after years of what it perceives as unfair trade practices, and China becoming more assertive as it becomes an economic powerhouse.
The challenge for both the United States and China, amid their bilateral struggle as dominant powers in Asia, is to offer that inclusive and overarching moral justification for acceptance by all countries, big and small, of their dominance beyond military might. Both countries have cited security as the basis for their current positions, the US in trade and China in the South China Sea. But whatever the underlying motivations for either country, if America first or China's rise is perceived to be lopsided against the national interests of other countries or the collective good, the acceptance of US or China's dominance will be diminished.
Dr. Ng cited a comprehensive and progressive Trans-Pacific partnership as an example of countries moving on without America. He also said the European Union may look for other partners should they find US trade terms too onerous. Even worse, he said, is if countries were forced to choose sides, calling it the ultimate loser's game.
Sooner or later, you're going to have lines that crisscross less and less. Whether it's technology, whether it's trade, whether it's security. And once you have 2 or 3 blocks with parallel lines and strong divisions between them, then you're set up for conflict, which is what happened in the Cold War, which is what happened in Europe with the alliances, World War II, World War I.
Wrapping up the dialogue with reporters later, he said Singapore's perspective on the US-China tensions is due to its support for globalization. He added that stability comes from being interconnected. This would make the price of conflict very high.
If we live on the same row and there's a common corridor between us, we're going to think very hard before we start, throwing things at one another. But if you are divided by a wall and insulated from some of the harm when you have conflict, then you think less.
Dr. Ng added that the Shangri-La dialogue has been useful as it allowed the US and Chinese defense chiefs to meet and exchange frank and direct views. He said he's optimistic that issues can be resolved if they are at least articulated.
That report from the news desk. Seniors will soon learn more about the benefits of the Merdeka Generation Package through a series of community roadshows. 23 roadshows are in the works and will reach out to seniors in the heartlands such as Bukit Gombak, Jurong West and Sengkang. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong was at the Ang Mo Kio Roadshow where he gave out 50 Merdeka Generation Package folders to residents there. Some 8,300 welcome folders, including the Merdeka Generation cards, were given out at various events island-wide today. At these roadshows, seniors will get one-on-one consultations with volunteers. Besides learning about the benefits and other care schemes, seniors can also find out more about active aging and digital literacy. I'm Hui Wong. For more news, log on to cna.asia.
When Singapore needs to know, the all-new CNA938, live from Monday.
And just in case you're wondering, who are the new, faces or voices that you'll be listening to tomorrow? Well, right from the start at 6 a.m., you'll be hearing from Arnold Gay and Yasmin Yonkers, when they will be presenting you with Asia First. And after that, it's Stanley Leong and Chew Wei Lin in Money Mind, and Daniel Martin with Life and Style, and Lance Alexandra and Melanie Olivero will be with you for Singapore Today. And of course, it's Nightlife with Eugene Low, a new lineup for tomorrow.
938 Now, LTA Traffic News.
We're looking at stalled vehicle in Woodlands Tunnel towards the city. Avoid lane 2.
From Monday, join Arnold Gay and Yasmin Yonkers for breakfast right here on the all-new CNA 938.